On the morning of Saturday, September 22nd, Lebanon Valley College held its second annual Women's Leadership Symposium in the lower level programming room in the Mund College Center. The event was a collaboration between the Office of Multicultural Affairs, Counseling Services, Athletics, and a Division of Student Affairs. Registration for the event began at 9 a.m. in the morning, which led to the opening ceremony at 9:30 a.m. Following the opening ceremony, keynote speaker Christy Capuello, an award-winning writer and editor specializing in politics, culture, and gender, began with her portion entitled Politics of Women's Health. This discussed how politicians in the media treat women, specifically women's health and reproductive rights. Following that portion, there was a break that led to a panel on identity crisis in women's leadership. Following this at 12:30 p.m., Dr. Kathy Roybagnola of the English Department of the host Lebanon Valley College led a session entitled Putting in an Alternative Discourse into Circulation.
Well, my panel at the Women's Leadership Symposium focused on women in the media and on discourse surrounding women in the media and what that discourse conveys to us about what our society expects women to be like, what roles our society expects women to hold, in particular in relation to leadership and sexuality and those kinds of things. So I started off by showing some clips and talking about what those clips revealed about our society's expectations, and then we had a discussion about alternative ways that women can be presented and alternative things that we can do to counter some of the more negative messages out there. And we also looked at some of the positive messages surrounding women in the media and talked about what those messages were conveying about women and how we could get more messages like that out there.
Later on at 2:30 p.m., there was another panel entitled Women's Progress and Setbacks. The last portion was a roundtable called Ideas to Action, led by Lebanon Valley College's Director of Counseling Services, Dr. Stevie Falk. After this, the closing of the event was held at 4:30 p.m.
So the purpose of the event was to pull together some young women from across campus and have them, one, network with one another so that they can build some ties and connections, but then also connect with older women, whether they were professionals or alum of the institution or even just worked here on campus, just to kind of build that network, because I think it's important for young women to have ties, with their peers, but then also think about kind of what their life would be after LVC. And as we know, women have different, needs than men do, and I think that it's important for women and men to have spaces where they can kind of talk about what issues come to play when you are trying to lead as far as your female identity. So I think that was one of the important things for them, to be able to talk with other women and say, okay, I've had this experience, oh, you've had that experience, and not see leadership just as the skills, organization skills or what else, how to run a meeting. Those are leadership things, but I think outside of that, we need to see ourselves as leaders in our community, leaders in our residence hall, leaders in our classrooms, and what are the issues or the things that affect women that impact how you lead, or even your confidence, right? So if you don't have a certain level of confidence or kind of a developed self-identity, then how do you lead, right? How does that impact how you feel you are as a leader, or what you're doing in those various roles that you might play? So I think creating that space and having them be in that and talk about some of those issues that pertain to women, and think about how that affects how they lead or what they do in their communities and in their homes and their professional life. I think that was the main purpose of the event.
Overall, the Women's Leadership Symposium proved extremely successful and showcased the abundance of women leaders around Lebanon Valley College's campus and community, and the resolve to strengthen their ties between women.